Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Garden Project. This has been about 6 months in the making, and I just want to give just a little bit of understanding of kind of where we've been and where we're going here as a church, the Greater Cleveland Church of Christ. In Genesis chapter 2, in verse 8, we read about our first garden in the Bible. God makes man, God makes a garden, and God puts man in the garden. Man, woman, God, they are walking together. There is harmony. It is all good because this is what gardens are all about. Gardens are written about throughout all the Bible, whether it be the Garden of Eden. In the book of Ezekiel, he's prophesying to him and he's saying, hey, when you repent, I'm going to come and make it just like the Garden of Eden again. Jesus prays in the Garden of Gethsemane, and even when he raises from the dead, it is in a garden. It's the garden of the tomb. I didn't realize that till this week. That was pretty cool. Revelation chapter 22, we're going to be back together in the imagery there of a garden with the tree right there. We did a whole year of parables, and how many of these parables were agricultural in nature? Whether it be a vineyard or whether it be a garden, there are so many parables and mustard seeds and growing and the parable of the soils. They're everywhere in the scriptures. Gardens represent a place for spiritual renewal. They represent a place for spiritual transformation. And the end result of any good, healthy garden is what? Fruit. When you have a good, healthy garden, things start growing. And turning our attention to church, when we have spiritual, healthy gardens, and that's what the Garden Project is all about, planting spiritual gardens throughout the greater Cleveland area. When we have healthy spiritual gardens, things grow. Disciples grow in their character. Disciples grow last Sunday I thought was an amazing example of that with the campus ministry. And they were talking about just spiritual transformation. And they were talking about the fruits of the Spirit. When you have a healthy environment, things tend to grow. And disciple making takes place at a much faster rate when you have healthy gardens. And in many senses, this whole garden project, we're not doing this out of desperation. Rather, it's kind of hey, we've got some really good things happening here in the church, and growth has been great lately in terms of we've made a lot of disciples over the last 2 years, which has been fantastic. It's been so amazing. Seeing Jasmine get baptized even this last Sunday was amazing. And so we've seen some great things, but I want to show something to you. Okay, so I want to show you something here, and we're going to get a little technical. It comes from this book that you've heard a lot of me talking about called Historical Drift. And they get kind of technical in here, but it's really spoken to me. And in one of the illustrations, they show something called the sigmoid curve. Okay, and kind of the idea of this is that in any organization or anything, you have kind of these ebbs and flows, right? You have these ups and you have these downs. And churches are no different. You have times of great growth, and then you have times where it levels off. And the idea of jumping the sigmoid curve is that kind of the idea is it's better to make changes in an organization, or in this case is a church, when things are going good rather when, things are going the wrong way. And so by no means is the Garden Project, we aim to be at point A here, where it's okay, we've got some good things going, and let this be kind of a taking off to even greater things, if you will. Our backstory, in the summer of 2025, our church leadership team met to evaluate the health of the church. And again, kind of like that chart, the curve that I just showed you there, we were kind of talking about, hey, things are going well, but how do we really maintain and even thrive into the future? And so we had this idea of sending out surveys where we would where we'd let the church evaluate the church's strengths, weaknesses, talk about their midweek experience and how, why or what they like, what they don't like, what would make it better. And then just discipling relationships. Where are we at with that? And ultimately, what we came up with is we have our list of strengths here, and love, fellowship, meaningful relationships, strong biblical foundation, worship, Sunday services, community outreach and service, events and fellowship activities, leadership and organization, diversity and inclusion. We did a whole presentation on this earlier, so we're going quick. Weaknesses, youth, next generation, commitment, participation, follow-up studies and discipleship, worship and reverence, organization and communication, relationships and unity. Midweek. Midweek has really not been as encouraging lately in the Greater Cleveland Church of Christ. 50% or so of the people come. And anyway, we're trying to get some feedback on that. It's viewed as optional. In other words, nobody seems to care if we come or not come. It's just kind of an optional thing. Ever since COVID, the comfort of the home has become a big thing. And so our habits have changed. There's been concern about content, not concern, but just more of there's a lack of consistency in the content. Maybe we could do something with that. And then having a building in downtown Cleveland it has its benefits, but it has its faults as well. And it's not super appealing in the dark of to drive down to Cleveland in maybe not the greatest area. There's some hesitancy there, distance, location. And in terms of discipling, it's been hard for people to kind of find discipling partners, and it's been inconsistent. And so we heard a lot of that. So we've come up with the Garden Project. And let me kind of tell you what we aim to change here. So we're not going to be able to get all the changes, not at least through the Garden Project, but there's a number of that I think that it will address. It's really going after commitment and participation. That's kind of the main thing, right? The 80-20 problem is real in our church, where there's kind of a feeling that the majority of the work is done by 20% of the people. That whole thing. Discipleship, discipleship, that idea, we want to address that head on. And then there's, as a result of the Garden Project, just some other things will happen that will definitely be more organized, and communication will go much better. And then it'll definitely attack relationships and unity. That sounded like the bad word, attack relationships. The Garden Project aims to enhance your relationships and enhance our unity. Amen. So what is the Garden Project? The Garden Project, in short, is a recommitment to small group ministries. We have done small groups for a long time, and we aim to really bring that back, but really give it our all, to really give a lot of resources to it and get things going. Just dream with me for a second. Imagine, and you've been part of ministries like this in the past, where you're just around a bunch of people who love you. You are around disciples who are helping you. You disciple each other. Wounds from a friend can be trusted. There's we're helping each other to grow. You enjoy showing up. You enjoy meals together. You want to invite people. These are signs of a very healthy spiritual garden. And I think what we've done is kind of we've given a little nod to small groups. We have small groups in our church, but do we really? I mean, it's once a month people meet together in a formal setting. And I don't know how much people, I guess it depends how much they're meeting in an informal setting. Well, we want to give a lot of resources and a lot of help to really building these spiritual gardens. And part of that is going to include our midweek services. So let's talk about midweek. So what we want to do is we want to change our format. We want to have the first week, we want to keep a congregational midweek. That's just good for unity's sake and just kind of keeping everybody together, and that's a good thing. So we want to keep that together. But then the next 3 weeks, so the second, third, and fourth week of every month, we're going to have a little bit of a cycle, and it's going to be all done within the small group. This can be done in people's homes. This can be done in Panera Bread. This can be done wherever. You can move around different homes to homes, however you guys want to do it. There's a lot of flexibility with it. But in short, the first time you come together, which would be the second week, there will be a good old-fashioned Bible talk. There will be a good discussion about the scriptures. The next week, which would be the third week of the month, would be a time to come together to have some great fellowship, but do some good old-fashioned discipling groups. More on the discipling groups here in just a bit. And then the last week, we want people just to get together and have a group meal together, potluck. You can go out to a restaurant, it don't matter. And then a time of prayer together. And the idea is when you look at Acts chapter 2, you see you see really a healthy spiritual garden where people are devoted to the apostles' teaching and to the fellowship and the breaking of bread and to prayer. And the idea of this is we're modeling it after this Acts chapter 2 framework. And if you go and you continue to read Acts chapter 2, that last sentence is very telling. And it says, and the Lord added to their number every day those who were being saved. That's kind of what happens when you have a spiritual garden. It's very attractive. People are growing. People are happy. Guests walk in and they go, what did I just walk into? This is awesome. It makes discipleship, it makes making disciples all that much easier. Okay. Some other aspects of the Garden Project is that we are going to go to a new discipling format. Discipling being defined as one another relationships where we are helping each other to become more like Jesus. That's a good old-fashioned discipling relationship. And in the old format, what we had asked people to do is basically, we didn't want to have any kind of control over anything. It was like, go find somebody on your own. Just go pick somebody. Ask somebody if they want to be cross-training together was the term we were using. And amen, that worked, but it also didn't work. And a lot of the feedback was people were all going to the same people. It was really hard to get these commitments. And it just kind of, in many places, it just kind of fizzled out. So what we're going to do with this is we're going to change it up a little bit. And we're going to a D group format, discipling group format. And so who's ever in your small group, those are the people that are in your discipling group. Men and women split, of course. So if there's me and there's 3 other brothers in my group, hey, that's my D group. I'm going to be seeing them basically, 3 times a month anyway, while we're going to be, together. And then, if you want to do more than that, you go for it. You want to have a men's breakfast, you go for it. Whatever the group decides that they want to do, you guys go for it. But the idea is now I've got 3 other guys that not only am I kind of holding accountable, but they're holding me accountable, where they know what's going on in my life. They know the struggles, they know the temptations, and they can make the phone call and say, hey, how you doing, bro? This is kind of the idea. Talking to my friend Rich Bartoli in West Virginia, there's a whole style here of how to do it. And so it won't just be haphazard, but there'll be some direction given on kind of how to run these discipleship groups, and it's going to be awesome. All right, it's time for the great reveal. So you might be thinking, hold on, you mean to tell me we took 6 months? We took all these surveys, we did all this, and we've come up with small groups? Like that? Ryan, we've been doing that for 31, 32 years. Like, this isn't new. There's nothing different here. And in some senses, you're right. But there's a twist. And here comes the twist. Are you ready? Remember the garden analogy. Healthy gardens produce fruit. Fruits of the Spirit, making disciples, that type of fruit. And you in your life have probably been part of a very fruitful ministry. I know that I have been from time to time part of like some really fruitful ministries. The most fruitful ministry, and it was almost cheating, it was so fruitful, it was when we moved to Toledo to start the church. And part of the reason we grew so much was, it was very spiritually healthy. When you have 20 people who say, yeah, I'm ready to uproot my life and move for the mission of Christ, that's a pretty good solid core to work with there. And we had our issues, don't get me wrong. But for the most part, we had a very motivated group of people that were actively living out their Christianity and going and making disciples, because it was a healthy soil. And because when you have healthy soil like that, when people are together and they love being together and they love being Christians and they love being on mission and they love all these things, and then somebody just visits, they go, whoa, this is like a Christianity I've never seen before. And things start to grow. It's just what happens. There's been other fruitful periods of my life in ministry, and that seems to be the kind of the common denominator is when we're being spiritual, when we're in each other's lives, when we're living our Christianity together, it becomes very attractive to the outside world. Sure, we go and evangelize, but in many senses we don't need to, because fruit is just the result of healthy spiritual relationships and healthy spiritual groups. And I think where we fall flat, and where we've fallen flat in Cleveland, is that, we'll initiate something and try to get the group going. But then, after a month or two, it starts to kind of decline and decline and decline. And what we've kind of determined is that when we're starting our groups, when we have groups, we don't have people committed to the groups. And so if you have a group of 8 people, and, there's, 2 or 3 decide after a month or two, I don't know. If nothing else is going on, maybe I'll go to the group. That sort of spirit, right? Well, then all of a sudden your group of 8 people turns into, maybe a group of 5 people who are coming consistently. And, one child gets the sniffles or somebody is on a work trip and now we're down to 3 or 4 and it's like, just cancel it. There's nobody coming anyway. And it just kind of dies. We've had smokers just kind of die out. They just don't meet. And it's just like, you can't, that's a very infertile soil. You can't make disciples. You can't grow in that type of environment because there's no commitment to it. And so the big change, or the big twist, if you will, is this. The big twist is you got to sign up for the program. You got to sign up for the program. Well, what does that mean? Well, we'd like everyone that wants to be a part of the Garden Project in 2026. We want you to be a part of the Garden Project in 2026. However, if you do not want to be a part of it, we are not going to have you be a part of it. Because the idea of a fertile soil is there's got to be commitment. There's got to be a buy-in. There's got to be man, I want this and I want to grow and I want to be part of a group of people that's going to help me spiritually. And that doesn't just magically happen. There's sacrifice that needs to be made. You can't sign up to be on the baseball team and say, I'm not going to practice, right? Like, this is kind of a common thing. Any group you're a part of, there's some type of level of commitment that you're being asked for. And so we're asking up front for a level of commitment. What is that level of commitment? We want you to take this pledge. And the Garden Project pledge is this. It's pretty simple. But we want you to be committed to the meetings of the group. Now, most of these groups are probably going to meet on Wednesdays at 7 o'clock because that's just kind of what we've been doing for 30 years. However, we're open-minded. If there's a group that doesn't work for and we got people retiring, don't like driving at night, hey, I'm down with like a Wednesday at noon group. That's fine. We can work around some of these things. But ultimately, whatever group you're a part of, is we want you to be committed to that group. Commitment. What does that mean? It means that when the group meets, you be there. And you don't make it your last priority or even a medium priority, you make it your first priority. The Bible talks about that some people were in the habit of not meeting together, the habit of not meeting together. There's going to be things that come up, and don't cancel your work trip, okay? Don't get fired, okay? Like, if you can't come, you can't come. We get it. Don't bring your COVID into somebody else's house. Stay home. If you get it, you understand what I'm saying here. However, we want you to be committed to the group. And if that means, hey, my child's got a recital and I just need to be there, you're absolutely right. You need to be there for your child's recital. No doubt about it. But maybe you get a phone call ahead of time and let people know, hey, I won't be able to make it. But then secondly, maybe you give a phone call afterward and you go, hey, what did I miss? How'd it go? If you're on the work trip and you're just sitting there in the hotel room, Zoom in one time. Like, oh, okay, I can't be there, but I can kind of be there. In other words, we want you to really, really, really actively commit to, man, I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to be a part of this. And so that's kind of number one, right? Is that you're going to be committed. Zoom in if you're unavailable, those sort of things. Secondly, as this will now be part of your discipling group, we want you to just be open and honest with your life, right? Like, we want you to be actively involved in the discipling group. It's no good if somebody is not open or doesn't care or never makes a phone call or, you want to be an active part of it, both on the kind of receiving end, if you will, of I'm going to be open and I'm going to share what's going on and I'm going to take input and, talk it out, all that. But also on the, like the other end, when you hear your brother in need and he's going through something, you're going to go, I'm going to give him a call this week and see how he's doing. Maybe we can pray together. Maybe we can have quiet time together. Maybe we can, does that make sense? I want you to really be active in the discipling group. Not just I show up once a month, I kind of say what I got to say, and then I'll see these people again. Really be active with it. And so that's the Garden Project pledge. It's not all that much, but it's something, right? We want you getting back into the habits of meeting together, and it will be glorious. Okay, some other things here. This is a temporary project for 2026. What does that mean? It's a little bit different having pledges and all that. We are not saying that this is how we're going to operate for the rest of our future in the Greater Cleveland Church of Christ. Maybe we will. Oh, no. But we're just worried about 2026. And a lot of it is we want to help the people who really want to be helped. Like, we really want to give attention and provide a spiritual garden for people who are in, who say, yeah, I want this. And so that's kind of the idea is let's get, that whole 80-20 thing. Let's start moving the needle on that 20 and getting many more people involved in active ministry. This is what the Garden Project seeks to produce here in 2026. What will we do in 2027? Well, hopefully things will go awesome. We'll keep going, but we'll make changes along the way. And we obviously we're just rolling this out, and it's a little bit different. We will continue to improve it. And there we go. Okay, so some other things here, and here's kind of the big question. And the big question is, well, what do we do with folks that don't want to be a part of it? One of the major complaints we have from people leading small groups is, especially in kind of the adult ministries with people that have been in the church for a long period of time, one of the complaints is, I'm tired of kind of tracking down grown men and women and trying to get them to commit to come. I feel your pain on that, right? Like, it's not fun to be like, hey man, when there's a young Christian, hey man, you leave the 99 and you go after the one. But when older Christians are just basically kind of giving you the stop sign, it feels weird as a grown man trying to track someone down and all that. And so this kind of gets rid of that sort of dynamic where it's like, hey, those who said they're in, hey bro, you said you're in, right? Come on, let's do this. But the big question is, well, what happens with those who don't want to be in? And let me just say this. I want everyone to be a part of this, but I only want you to be a part of this if you want to be a part of this. And if you don't want to be a part of this, I would ask you to check your heart, right? Like, now, if it's something like location and I don't know if I can find a ride and I don't have money to Uber, that's a different story. That's not a hard issue at all. We will work around that. We'll figure out a way to make that happen. But if you're sitting there saying, nah, this just doesn't sound, I don't want this, I would ask you to check your heart on that. Like, well, why not? Why wouldn't you want this? I mean, this is kind of, I just feel as though every disciple should want this in their life. And so, hey, if you don't sign up, you're not in trouble. I am probably going to give you a phone call, though, and I'd like to hear a little bit more on why, or maybe someone else from the leadership team. I have no idea if everyone in the church will sign up. I don't know if half the people, I don't know. We're going to find out, though, and we're going to figure it out. So I would ask you to just check your heart and go, why not? Like, why wouldn't I want to do this? Because I think it's going to be awesome. Okay. Well, what does that mean if you're not a part of it? Well, we're putting together what we call a shepherding team. And this is, do we just want to, we just feel like we need to give a little bit more of like, there's a lot of people who are really good shepherds in our church and really have a heart for it. They enjoy going after and really kind of helping people that are stuck spiritually or, trapped in sin or whatever. Some of our folks are really good. We want to kind of pool those people together. And we want to offer you, if you're not part of the program, we want to offer you any kind of help that you need. So we're not ditching you. It's not like, but I think you hear what I'm saying in the spirit of kind of this idea of a healthy soil. If you don't want to be a part of it, okay, well then there you go. All right, hopefully that makes sense. I don't know if that's controversial or not, but that's where we're rolling, guys, and it's going to be glorious. So come join us, the Garden Project. If we can get all the logistics worked out, we're hoping to kick this off the second Wednesday in April. And to God be the glory. Next step, you'll be receiving a Google form where it's going to explain the program. It's going to have a link to this video, and it's just going to ask you a few questions of whether you want to be a part of it, and maybe a few other questions as well. And after that, we're going to start these groups up, and it's going to be glorious. Thanks, guys. Love you.